Hi everybody,
Hi there.
it's Ed and Sandy with Over the Hills 2019. And someone's dying in the background.
Got a lot of background noise. Sorry about that.
But sorry for the delay in updates and doing a new post. There's a reason for it, and we'll get to that later. But I really think you're going to enjoy this video. And check out our new wheel cover. Isn't this great for our spare tire? We love donkeys, and I couldn't resist. So, hope you enjoy the video. And if you like it, please subscribe. I love your questions and comments, so please leave those as well. Anyway, let's get the ball rolling here, and let's go.
Bye.
See ya. Okay, we've arrived not far from the campsite, about a mile and a half. We're going to go in and see what this is all about. What's this for a donut? Look at that bad boy. Okay, we have scored a half a dozen of Sandy's donuts, and they're massive. Wait till you see these things. Ta-da! I mean, wow. These things are just massive. Oh, okay, we'll get some plates and get them out of here so you can really get the effect.
See? Bigger than my hand.
How's that for a donut?
See, watch this though. My mouth doesn't open this wide. It's huge.
It's a donut, boy.
General, come on. Come on. Come on. So after Ed finished his work with the Sugar Beet Harvest, we decided to go out for a celebratory dinner. We chose Spitfire Bar and Grill in Fargo, North Dakota, and once again we ordered several items from the appetizer menu so we could sample a bunch of different things. This food had a kick to it that was all so good. This awesome rest area is on Interstate 94 just east of Bismarck, North Dakota.
Well, we are setting up at a free spot just overnight, so not even really unhitching. It turns out it's level enough side to side. Now I just raised it a little bit without unhitching in the front to make it level front to back. Put the stabilizers down. We're good for now.
It was hunting season in this area, so we had an orange vest that our friends Peanut and Janice from Wyoming had given us, and I wrapped it around General and tied it when we went for our walks so that no one would mistake him for a wild animal. This was a very pretty area, not far from a river, but only a small parking lot, and we were the only people camping there for the night. Continuing west on Interstate 94, we kept seeing these signs for the Enchanted Highway, and when we passed exit 72 near Gladstone, we saw this sculpture. Googling it, we found out the Enchanted Highway runs from Gladstone south to Regent, North Dakota, and there are several sculptures along the road with pull-off areas and information kiosks. And the town of Regent at the south end of the Enchanted Highway has a gift shop where miniatures of each of the sculptures can be purchased. Pretty cool thing to trip across on our travels. About 6 miles east of the town of Medora, the Theodore Roosevelt National Park has a visitor center right off the interstate with an overlook where you can see the painted canyons. We highly recommend this stop. The views are amazingly beautiful. Almost there. The beautiful scenery continues inside the park, and we found buffalo everywhere we looked.
So we're in Medora, get up in the morning. All right, we need gas for the truck. We can't go exploring on a quarter tank of gas, and we don't have any water except a little bit of water that's in our fresh tank. So we got two problems to solve. And I go down into town to try and figure this out. First, I stopped at the visitor center and told them that the only freshwater outlet that they have open, because they're thinking that they're doing a good thing. They have at least one open. It's the end of the season. All the other ones are closed. The one that they have open, there's no, you can't hook a garden hose to it. That particular thread, you can't hook to it. It's just an open well, cast iron that just dumps the water in a waterfall and deal with it. So there was the water issue and need gas. So I went down into town and I got to a gas station, and old school pumps, I couldn't work them. I knew how to work them, but they're not working. So I went inside. Lady asked me, do you need gas? And I said, yes, please. She had a big smile on her face, and she says, well, the way it works is you leave me a card, and then I'll turn the pump on for you. You go pump your gas and come back in. And I said, that's a system I can buy into. So I threw my card down, and she says, I'm going to turn pump 3 on for you. And I went back out there and I pumped my gas. I come back in. It said out on the roly-toly things, totally old school. I figured it around $51. And when she rang it up, it was $50.80. I was kidding with her. I feel like I've got some kind of bonus going on here. And she was, no, well, it's all digital on this side, and I don't understand the difference. And no, it's all good. I was just kidding around. And so I started to ask her if, a lot of things in town seem to be closed. And she said, well, we're open. And she said there's a couple of the bars that are open to accommodate the stragglers. So I realized I'm a straggler. And, so thanks, So the gift shops, everything, you're coming here late October. This is what you're going to get. You can go downtown. You can take pictures. You know why? Because you can stand in the middle of the street. There ain't nobody going to hit you. You can do whatever you want. You want to go through the state park? Man, that's okay too. I mean, maybe go see somebody and you automatically just want to wave. Hey, there was another human. But otherwise, it's just, I'm a straggler. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm Mr. Straggler. My wife, dear Sandy, is Mrs. Straggler. We have a dog named General Straggler. And we are going to straggle our way south after having straggled our way through the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And eventually, somewhere, we will not become stragglers. We'll get tied into the mainstream of all the RVers that are going south to Quartzsite. See you there.
So we're staying at this campground in Medora, North Dakota. So we could see, this is actually in the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And we're staying in the campground in the park. But it is October 26th today. And they're kind of shut down. They only have this one water faucet open in the whole park, and you can't connect a hose to it. So we're not able to fill up the tank in our truck. So we have these two water bottles, these two 1-gallon water bottles that we've saved along the way. And we are gathering 2 gallons of water at a time and taking it back and dumping it into the trailer because we need to wash our dishes and Ed really needs to take a shower. Yeah, so this is what we're doing because we're having this problem. But it's kind of fun. It's kind of a challenge. Again, we're being self-sufficient. We take care of our own needs, and we're just kind of doing it the way the pioneers did for a little bit. Fun stuff. We went out exploring the park the next day and came across more buffalo almost right away. The road inside the park is actually a big loop, but since they were doing construction on part of the loop, we were able to drive to a certain point, then we had to turn around and go back. But here are some pics from inside the Theodore Roosevelt National Park.
There is a coal vein that's on fire. And I guess it was by natural events. And the answer is you just let Mother Nature take its course. Pretty cool. And it stinks.
Here is the view from our campground. Just inside the park, the visitor center has on display the Maltese Cross Cabin, which was Teddy Roosevelt's actual cabin when he was in his mid-20s and staying here in the Dakotas and tending to his ranches here. The visitor center also has several displays about Teddy Roosevelt's time that he spent here in North Dakota. It was very interesting. Besides the buffalo, Teddy Roosevelt National Park is also well known for the prairie dogs and the wild horses. We spent 3 days in Medora, North Dakota, and then got on the road again. We thought this was pretty interesting. When you live in a very small town, sometimes you just have many hats to wear. There was this really awesome boondocking spot that we found on the west side of the Badlands coming in from Wall, South Dakota. We headed up that way but weren't able to find a good spot to level up. And it was also super close to a cliff, and we worried about General and our own fear of heights getting the better of us. So we headed back to the town of Wall and decided to spend the night in the Wall Drug parking lot. The parking lot was posted all over with no camping signs, but we asked the store clerk if it was okay for us to spend the night there, and she said it was fine, people do it all the time, and that nobody would bother us unless we were loud and disruptive to the neighbors. The Wall Drug Complex is something you really have to experience. It's a bunch of stores all tied together, somewhat like a shopping mall, but on a smaller and tighter scale. Need some awesome cowboy boots? Get a little history of the pharmacy at the Wall Drug Pharmacy Museum, which has been in business since 1931. We were uncomfortable about leaving the trailer alone in the parking lot, so the next day Ed went to explore Badlands National Park, while General and I stayed at the trailer. He also drove through the little town of Interior on the southeast side of the park, where we had stayed once before, and had lunch again at the Wagon Wheel Bar and Grill. The next day, we drove through the Badlands and continued on our journey south. This was our second visit to the Badlands, and this national park is just amazing. It's absolutely huge, but kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We keep wondering what early pioneers thought when they came up on it as they traveled west. Pulled into our campground and found this. So I guess some people might say that the worst has happened. We're trying not to think it's the end of the world right now. But our plug, our 30 amp plug for our camper has been loose in its slot, and it had a tendency to kind of come out the hole. Well, it did that, and apparently for the last 40 miles we've been dragging it on the road behind us. So now it's totally worn off, flat. We are in actually about 15 miles outside of Thedford, Nebraska, which is a small town in and of itself. And Ed ran to a hardware store about 30 miles away, and hopefully this guy, we talked to him on the phone, hopefully he has a plug that can go on here, and then Ed will have to do the wiring himself to hook this up and get us going again. Luckily, I guess, we're not totally dead in the water right at the moment, because we got our solar panel set up, and it's pulling in about 5 watts, 5 amps right at the moment, until the sun goes down, which we only have a couple of hours, and that doesn't require the plug. But we do kind of need the plug if we were going to run the generator, and actually we're in an electric site right now. We were kind of looking forward to this, just for one night to plug into the electric and not have to use our propane. But we'll have to see if he's able to get this fixed before we can do that.
Okay, so can't plug that in. She's already shown you that. I'm going to have to worry my way through the cord back a ways because it's drug up into here. I ran all the way to Mullen, Nebraska, and found a hardware store with no exterior signage whatsoever. That was interesting. And found a plug that will work. So now I just gotta fix it.
45 miles away.
$15 for the plug. They only take cash.
Oh no.
I had to go to a bank to get an ATM machine, so it's really a $17 plug. But can't let this stuff get you down. You just gotta figure out what to do.
Yeah, stuff happens. Always be prepared for something to happen.
If the guy would have had 2 of them, I would have bought it.
Ah.
He only had 1. Thank our Lord. So, off to work. Handyman Hardware, can't say enough for those folks. They had a 30 amp plug that, for wiring onto a 30 amp cord, and so they even offered to stay over and wait for me to get there because it was coming up on closing. Fortunately, I made it there. I didn't have to do that to them. They had it sitting on the counter, picked it up. Boy, that's a great place. So this is our temporary hookup. We had to get it done. We had to get it done last night. I didn't do a video. I may have said that before because it was just impossible. I mean, I was trying to get this wired up in the dark with a flashlight. Now, I know this head is not going to fit in this hole where it's supposed to go. So, all right, we're getting ready to leave tomorrow. We already stayed over one day because of high winds, which you probably can hear. So here's my fix. I put a hose clamp on here with a piece of wire, which is from clothes hangers. Bring 4 clothes hangers with you, get 6. Those things come in so handy. And then I stole this off of a setup I had for tying down the awning, and what this does is it allows me, this I had left over from another little project. It's not like I carry a lot of this stuff around, I just happen to have this little thing, and I use self-tapping screws, which I also already had, so I can hook it like this. This can't go anywhere. All this cord obviously would be tucked back in there. And we'll see how it goes. But when you're on the road, you just got to get things done. And my lady needed to take a shower too. So that was important. I mean, we rented an electric site and we don't have any way to hook up. We got to make it work. So, here we go. See what happens next. So to wrap things up,
the guy at the hardware store, Handyman Hardware, where Ed got the plug, actually, I mean, he knew exactly what happened. He asked Ed, so you drug the cord behind your trailer, didn't you? And Ed said, yeah. And he says, you're not the only one. This actually happens pretty often. So we definitely wanted to share that with you all. Maybe you actually want to get a spare one of these plugs and keep it in your toolbox in case the same thing happens to you. This applies to travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, everything. We all have to plug in, and there's a plug hanging out someplace on your rig. So just be aware of this potential problem.
And maybe they've fixed it on some other things, newer rigs where that can't happen, but it's been a bear dealing with keeping our plug in where it's supposed to. If you push it in too far, it goes inside the box and you have to take it apart to pull it back out again. And it has like a catch that it's supposed to go into, and it does, but getting it in there is very difficult, and then trying to pull it back out is. I could have avoided the whole problem by just shoving it in the box and knowing every time that we have to set up, I have to take apart the access panel and then push it back outside. And there's something I'm going to have to do there eventually. But this is how we got around it, and the one thing that I would add is that don't be as scared to tackle problems when they come up. You just, I mean, we're dead in the water. Found the hardware store, got the cord. Have I ever installed one of these on the end of a 30 amp trailer plug? No. But it comes with instructions. I have some basic tools. I used a multi-head screwdriver and some wire cutters to peel back the cord and get it, the sheathing on the cord to get it where it needed to be. And then I used wire strippers that I had. Now, that sounds like I don't even know what wire strippers are. If that's, you know, when you go to the hardware store to get the plug, every tool you need, you can get there at the hardware store, come back, just follow the instructions and be up and running, as opposed to saying, oh my gosh, we don't have any way to hook up to electric. We have to go find an RV center someplace to replace this cord. We were up and running. It cost $17 for the plug and the time to run there and back. I'm sorry I didn't do a video about it, and I think I mentioned it before, but it was in the dark. I just had to get it done.
He was just using a flashlight.
So, but you can do this stuff, and you can tackle it. Unforeseen things are going to happen, but it's possible to get through it. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.
After fixing the plug, we decided to stay an extra day in the campground because it was a pretty cool little place. We were in the Nebraska National Forest, which is actually the only national forest in the state of Nebraska. But even more, this is the largest hand-planted forest in the Western Hemisphere and is nestled within the most intact temperate prairie on Earth. Very interesting place.